Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Rumspringa. Rumspringa is a German comedy drama that tells the story of Jacob Hofstadler, a young Amish man who's about to leave his home in America to take part in his own Rumspringa, a rite of passage where he essentially comes of age, and he decides to go to Berlin to take part in it, as well as to fill in a page of his family Bible. His trip gets off to a bit of a rocky start when he loses his luggage, but he meets and befriends a man named Alf who agrees to help him out. As Jacob goes about finding his Bible, he also finds and experiences a new way of life much different from his own, and he has to decide if he's going to immerse himself in it or not. The movie starts off on an interesting note, with its main character essentially being a fish out of water, and it's fun to see him navigate a world he's completely unfamiliar with. However, as the movie progressed, it became less enjoyable and more tedious due to its slow pacing and increasingly aimless subplots. Jacob was a great character from the outset. His youthful innocence and naivete to modern civilization results in a lot of misunderstandings that make it easy to sympathize with him, as well as with his friendly demeanor and readiness to provide help to anyone who needs it being endearing. I also like that he had his own reasons for going on Rumspringa outside of simply engaging in indulgences forbidden in his culture. The search for his Bible and desire to find relatives and complete his family tree gives him a tangible goal to accomplish, and it was intriguing to see him manage his perceived duties with the temptations around him. His new friend Alf isn't quite as interesting by comparison. He's not necessarily a bad character in that he is somewhat fleshed out in terms of him having a goal to produce an app and sort of feeling lost in life, but it feels like his actor is half asleep in every scene he's in. I don't know what it is, but there's something about how muted his reactions are to story beats that make him a boring character to follow. It was hard for me to connect to his personal struggles when he goes around most of the movie being lackadaisical, which is sort of the point when you watch what he goes through, but even when he does take initiative, it just feels half-baked. I will say that he became a lot more compelling whenever he was on screen with Jacob. Their dynamic made for a lot of funny banter and engaging character development, as Jacob learns from Alf how to behave in modern society, while Alf learns from Jacob the importance of community and to avoid being materialistic. Their differences do create conflict on occasion, but it feels natural in how it occurs, and there's a visible positive effect that one has on the other over the course of the story. Jacob gradually comes out of his shell, while Alf starts to find direction in his life, and seeing them change kept me invested to see where they would end up. The Rumspringa itself is entertaining to see in action. Jacob participates in a variety of things that would normally be considered a sin in his culture, ranging from something as simple as driving a car to greater extremes such as taking drugs, and his exaggerated reactions to all of these things was hilarious to see play out. There's also little scenarios here and there that further add to the comedy. Some examples include Jacob having to deliver food to make ends meet, being mystified by intercom voices, and getting scared at the idea of being in pictures. There's a grab bag of silly situations to pull from, and most of them are quite fun. Unfortunately, most of these scenarios are few and far between, which leads me to my biggest complaint about the movie. The story moves at a really slow pace, especially toward the final act, where not all that much happens. It feels as if the movie runs out of gas during the second act, which is ironic because there's a scene that sort of symbolizes this concept later on. Now, to a certain degree, the way the movie is framed does make sense. The beginning is where everything is new for Jacob, which makes things more troublesome and thus lends well to the comedy, and as he gets settled in, more serious issues start to pop up, which leads to a transition into more dramatic territory. But while the comedy was captivating enough, the drama didn't draw me in as much. The way Jacob gets his Bible back feels anticlimactic and is forgotten about until near the end of the movie, and Alf's continuously monotone behavior made it difficult for me to root for him to overcome his personal issues. Coupled with long stretches where people just sit around and talk, it gets tedious pretty quickly. Despite how boring it can get, I am glad there's a thematic message behind it regarding purpose and trying to find one's way in life. Both Jacob and Alf find themselves at a crossroads and aren't sure where they want to go in terms of the identity they want to live. The movie is rich with a lot of subtext in this regard. Without going too in-depth, I like how both of them have their own path to walk on, despite the fact that they aren't necessarily sure where it's going to take them. Both of their journeys were fascinating to witness, even if they didn't always grab my attention. The romantic subplots do play a part with how the characters change, but I personally didn't care for them. Alf's romance arc in particular never feels complete, as what I can only describe as his friend with benefits comes and goes without any real impact on the plot at hand, save for an aha moment for Alf that doesn't feel entirely deserved. Jacob's romance subplot is a bit better, but not by a lot. His love interest Ina has a much better influence on him by comparison, but the setup between the two feels off. off. She only appears once in the beginning and suddenly reappears after Jacob gets his Bible back, yet is made out like they have some sort of connection almost immediately. As shallow as their bond may be, they at least do some fun things together along with Alf and help break the tedium of the slow pacing, and the movie does a good job of taking advantage of the Berlin scenery. Lots of bright color palettes and a variety of city settings help make the group's excursion stand out more. The technical presentation started to bother me a bit more as far as the camera movements were concerned. The movie makes occasional use of 360-degree shots that make sense with how they swap between characters, but they were mostly a distraction from the story at hand, and this wasn't helped by the weird slideshow edits that are often paired with them. The portrayal of Amish culture and how it differed from modern living was something I look forward to seeing, and for the most part it is pulled off well. I don't know much about the Amish, but their way of life seems authentic in how it's displayed in the movie, from the way they dress to the philosophies they follow, and the movie makes good use of flashbacks to contrast between Jacob's past and present. However, the movie loses track of this aspect toward the end. I normally wouldn't mind if the pacing behind Jacob's self-discovery was more consistent, but the movie meanders so much his Amish background ends up watered down as a result. Overall, Rumspringa is a decent but ultimately forgettable dramedy that has its heart in the right place with its messages, but its focus conversely ends up being all over the place. If you like dramedies with a unique premise and you don't mind putting up with slow pacing, you might enjoy checking this one out. I feel like I should have enjoyed this movie a lot more than I did. It has a charming protagonist and his engagement in the Rumspringa ritual is a joy to behold, but the movie becomes increasingly bogged down by slow pacing and uninteresting subplots that can be a chore to sit through. What did you think about this movie? Did you appreciate its depiction of the Amish way of life and how it contrasted with modern society, or were you also let down by its slowness? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Rumspringa. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American teen drama Along for the Ride. Bye bye!